Enoch is never considered scripture by the Jews.
False. The Jewish community of Qumran, that preserved the Dead Sea Scrolls, considered the Book of Enoch to be scripture. Happy to help.
So let me add a little bit more to it. Not only do you have that the Jews in Qumran who kept the books of Enoch, book 1 and 2, that they kept these as scripture that they believed in, and these at Qumran were Jews, but as also did the Essenes who kept the book of Enoch. Now understand the book of Enoch was written until around the 3rd century, so that puts it around 200 BCE. But from 200 BCE until the Israelite Torah was closed, it was widely read and considered to be part of scripture until around 1st or 2nd century CE. And there were many Jewish communities that accepted the book of Enoch as scripture. So him saying that the book of Enoch was never a part of Jewish scripture is simply a bold-faced lie. What he should have actually said, to be more correct, is that the Orthodox Society of Jewish belief was that after it was closed, that it was not considered part of Jewish scripture. So it would show that there were some Jews who did believe in him, and there were others who didn't. But once it got time to truly canonize the Jewish text, then it was ruled to be not inspired by God. It was considered to be pseudographical. It was too outlandish for their text and written too late for their text. So it would have been better off to explain it that way. And that is one of the things I have had criticism from the Wes Huff interview with Joe Rogan, is that he didn't explain things thoroughly. And this may have been one of those things that he just simply didn't explain thoroughly. But then when I went and looked at the entire portion of that, no, he had plenty of time to explain it. He broke down where the book of Enoch came from and all these sorts of things. Now, the other part is that it becomes picking and choosing. He is picking and choosing because what he wants to identify as what the Dead Sea Scrolls had correct, meaning the Great Isaiah Scrolls, some of the writings of Psalms, he will easily say that those things are valid, those things are truly scriptural, but then ignore the fact that these same Jews who had the Great Isaiah Scroll and the Dead Sea Scrolls also kept the books of Enoch. They kept the book of Jubilees, the book of Maccabees. They still kept these other books that are not considered to be Jewish scripture, and they're certainly not considered to be Christian scripture. Well, they weren't considered Christian scripture after about the 4th century CE, because prior to the 4th century CE, and actually more along the lines of the 5th century CE, closer to the 5th century CE, you actually had where the book of Enoch was considered to be scripture by many different sects of Christianity. As a matter of fact, the only reason why the Ethiopians have the books of Enoch as part of their scripture is because the Coptic priest Frumentius, who came to Ethiopia in around 320 to teach them and convert King Azana over into Christianity, brought with him the books of Enoch as well as many other books, to which later formed the Ethiopian Bible. Now, before anybody say something stupid, the Ethiopian Bible was not the oldest one. Copy that we have is from the 1500s CE, and they did not convert over to Christianity until 330, and that was because they were forced by their king, who was converted by someone from the Coptic church in Alexandria, Egypt, and he brought them the books of Enoch. It became part of their Bible. Now, the canonization of what was done out of Rome didn't happen until around 369, 370 something. So they weren't forced to believe in the book that they had. But prior to that, it demonstrates that the book of Enoch was very popular among Christians, and many Christians took it as scripture, and that is why it is in some of your books. And then they later had it as part of the Apocrypha, then it was taken out of the Apocrypha, and so on and so forth. But to say that the Jewish people never considered it to be scripture, if the Jewish people had never considered it to be scripture, it would never have been scripture for over 300 years in Christianity. If the Jewish people considered it not to be scripture, then it wouldn't have been part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So I think he needs to come back and re-explain that one. And the other gentleman just said it very simply. That is just simply not true. That is you picking and choosing which Jews you like and which Jews you don't like. And the ones that you don't like, the other parts of them that you do like. Make up your mind. It's either all or none. So y'all have a great day. And remember always, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.